Welcome to I Am the Cute One, the most chaotic school dance in the podcast universe.
Let's spike the punch, grind to usher, and talk about our favorite topic, ourselves.
Hello, I am Donnie and I am the cute one.
And I am Chelsea and I am the cute one.
Happy Donnie Appreciation Month, Caroline.
Caroline. You know, it's so great to get to the root of a vocal stem. It's great to get to the reference point, to understand the movie that started it all.
It scratches an itch, doesn't it?
It does.
How did you like The Skeleton Key?
I liked it.
Okay.
This was not a good movie, but I liked it. But I will probably never watch it again. But Kate Hudson was good in it.
Okay. It is Kate Hudson's best work, but why do you think you'll never watch it again?
It was too scary, Donnie. This is a very scary movie.
Oh.
I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Did you ever see The Others?
The Others?
With Nicole Kidman? Are you mad? I am your daughter. That one?
Is that the one where they can't see the light?
Yeah.
I loved that one.
Okay,
But that's
yeah.
a
It was
good
like
movie.
these kind of movies were all around the same time.
But I watched The Others once. I enjoyed it. Never watched it again. There's something about a scary movie where it's kind of like a haunted house. Once you've made it to the end, you can be proud of yourself for going through it. You can giggle with your friends. You can point out which person peed themselves. And then you go out to Dairy Queen and you continue your night. You don't need to get back in line to do it again.
No, but I think if you were to go, like, let's say you did that last year with friends, and then this Halloween, I say, let's go to a haunted house. And you say, there's one near me, but they don't change it at all. It's still a new experience with me. I haven't been in the haunted house, but now you know you won't be scared turning that corner.
Okay.
So then you just get to watch it for the plot and for the brilliant acting. There were 3 Oscar nominees, 1 Emmy nominee, and it's written by the man who wrote F1, which is currently an Oscar nominee.
Maybe it was just the early aughts and that dark filter they put on everything. I felt like I needed to put on a headlamp to watch this movie, and I couldn't figure out where she was at in the house, which maybe, again, is part of the claustrophobia of, like, the house is closing in on her. But
let's talk about this really quick now. I'm glad you finally had a reason to bring it up. Your TV's lighting isn't right. There have been times when we watched things together from your computer that we streamed to the TV, and it was very dark, and I actively watch your laptop across the room instead of the TV because I cannot see anything on the TV. That was not the movie.
Well, cuties, rewind the tapes because there are many, many, many movies that I have seen over the years and that we've covered that I've been like, I could barely see a thing. And I do acknowledge that TV was a hand-me-down from a hand-me-down. I think that it was Pepe's and he gave it to my dad and my dad gave it to us. So that TV is like 15 years old.
Because there was a time you left the room and I tried to change the settings on the TV because there are different ones where, like, if you're playing a video game, use this. If you're watching YouTube videos, watch this. If you're watching a movie meant for the theaters, use this one. And I tried and put it on like the lightest it would go and it was still dark as hell.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that you thought you were being sneaky about it because that was the first time you tried to adjust my TV. And I knew that you were fiddling around with something. I don't give a hoot. I have a 15-year-old TV. That's not somebody that in my bones am worried about lighting and resolution. But then the next time you came in town, I saw you looking at the TV, looking at my laptop, looking at the TV, looking at my laptop. And I don't know if you remember this, but I said, do you want to try to adjust the settings? And you said, oh, thank God. But that's when we were watching Desperate Housewives. So maybe part of why I love Desperate Housewives is I thought it was more of a psychological thriller because it was so goddamn dark on Wisteria Lane.
They're in the evening every time, filming at 7 p.m.
Now, you said this is Kate Hudson's best work, and I was ready to come and drag you for filth because you did in your stories this week do the breakdown of her top 10 greatest movies. However, I have to be true to myself, just like my foot tattoo says, stay truce. I agree with you. I think that this was like some of her best acting.
It was. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
And you'll be happy to know, I know you've come with voice work today with your vocal stems, but I've come prepared with an impression
with a costume.
of her.
You looking like you looking like Caroline at the end of the movie today.
Well, there is a reason for that, Donnie. Sapphire last night put herself to bed at 5:30. She said, I don't feel well. I'm retiring to my fainting couch, and she went to bed. And then around 2 a.m., she came and crawled into my bed and spent the next 4 hours straight on and off telling me I'm having bad dreams. I'm so sick. I can't go to school tomorrow. I'm taking her temperature. I'm feeling her forehead. I'm getting her ice packs. I'm giving her water. I really think this bitch is sick.
Mhm.
Then the alarm goes off at 6:30 and she pops out of bed like she's a Disney princess. The birds are chirping. The sun is shining. She puts on her cute little outfit and her jean jacket and she says, Mommy, I think I just was exhausted. I need to go to school. And she was totally fine. So I do look like Caroline at the end of the Skeleton Key because the exorcism that I go with is motherhood each and every day. Along with the costume work, apparently I'm giving today, I also came prepared with some impressions of Kate Hudson's acting because I realized that the reason why this is her best acting work is she's a little bit Blake Lively adjacent where she really leads with the mouth. She leads with the mouth region in her acting. Kate Hudson does her best work when she has a slightly agape mouth, whether that be she's flirting in 10 Things I Hate About You. But in this movie, she did a lot of this. Like she's walking up a stair and she's like, And I think that this really allowed for the full experience and range of emotions on her 25-year-old face.
I like that. And I feel like it makes sense of why you would do that because if you're not allowed to interact with anyone you're in a house with, you would just interact with yourself. So it is a lot of like almost talking to yourself.
But realistic because she does a couple times finally speak out loud, but that's how I am. I know you're talking to yourself all day long.
Yeah.
But I'm in my brain probably because we know that I don't have an internal monologue. So when I am actively talking to myself, I'm truly talking. It's not a thought. I'm vocalizing to myself. Rarely do I actually say it out loud. And usually it's when I've made a terrible mistake and I go, oh, Jesus, Chelsea. Which I don't know what that says about me that I talk in the third person like Elmo, but we certainly don't have time to unpack that today.
We will circle back at some point, though. So The Skeleton Key was released August 12th, 2005. It was a Friday. We Belong Together by Mariah Carey was the #1 song in the U.S. with You're Beautiful by James Blunt reigning supreme in the UK.
Oh, good one.
I know. Four Brothers was top of the box office with this movie in the #2 spot. And this week, Queer as Folk aired its last episode on Showtime, but Showtime premiered Weeds. So replace one good one with another.
Great.
That's what they always say. If today's episode makes you laugh or scream, do us a favor and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. A 5-star review is the easiest way to help us grow our community. And I hate to do this, but it is my birthday month. So do it. Just do it.
Nike told you.
Mikey.
Nike. Just do
Oh,
it.
Nike. Okay. I'm like, who the fuck is Mikey? Because this is not his birthday month. Also, we are on Patreon if you didn't know that. And if it's someone else's birthday month and you want to give them gifts, you heard that correctly. If you want to give them gifts, you can make one of those gifts a Patreon membership.
We're covering Survivor right now, and I'm having a blast. Never seen it. Didn't know that they didn't get beds on the island, but it turns out they need to be cooking their own food and catching their own fish. Who knew?
The Skeleton Key was written by Erin Kruger. Oh, Erin. She spells it E-H-R-E. He, I think, actually, spells it E-H-R-E-N. So until I said it, I didn't know what name that was.
Very Mormon wives coded, I feel. Just need to add a Y somewhere in there.
Or Irish. Don't get me started on their names. It was written by Erin Kruger, who also wrote The Ring and Scream 3, and was directed by Ian Softly, who wrote Hackers. Also, Erin Kruger, like I said earlier in the episode, did also write F1, which is currently nominated for Best Picture nominee at the Academy Awards.
Marvelous.
I won't be seeing it as about race cars, but something for everybody at the Academy Awards.
Sure.
It cost $43 million to make and brought in $94 million. And Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 stars out of 4, saying, "There's a kind of moviegoer who likes a movie like this, no matter how it ends. It's about the journey, not the destination, even though the ending of The Skeleton Key really is a zinger. It's just that, well, what did a lot of the other stuff have to do with anything? How do all the omens and portents and unexplained happenings connect? And what's the deal with hoodoo? It doesn't work unless you really believe in it, we're told. But if you really do, it really does. Considering what happens when you do, I think it's better if you don't. Besides, I believe things either work or don't work, whether or not you think they can, especially things that God don't have much to do with."
Wow, he really took me through the full range of emotion this week. I love that he snuck in a little Jerry Seinfeld stand-up set in there. What's the deal with hoodoo? But I have to say, I agree with old Raj. I think that, I love a twist. M. Night Shyamalan, Knights of the Round Table,
Yeah.
Rise Up. But sometimes a twist doesn't quite hit when the rest of the movie, I'm like, wait, what? What?
And that's why you have to go back to the haunted house, because I think everything is there for a reason. I wasn't left with one question. The only question I do have is, why was it necessary for the blind lady to carry a baby around that gas
Sure.
station? But, everybody needs a job.
Also, one last thing about
Mhm.
that review from old Raj.
Yeah.
Just talking about the twist, just giving it away in his review. Because yes, I was laughing the whole movie that you have told me again and again and again that the twist is that until she believes
Yeah.
it doesn't work. That is also something explicitly stated throughout the movie
Yeah.
over and over again. But I did understand at the end, like, oh, the twist is that she has started to believe even though she didn't want to. And that
Yes.
being said, Roger just said everything. You don't believe until you do, and she did, so she does.
That's true. Now, there was one little twist that I didn't spoil for you. Or did you figure it out?
The body switching?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that out when she gave him the bath. Dr. Bald hadn't seen it since 2005, and so he didn't really remember anything about the movie. But then when I said, I think that they've been switching bodies and it's like the Fountain of Youth halfway through, he's like, I don't know if that's right, but if I had never watched this movie, I would be so pissed that you're just shouting out your theories again. And I said, once again, you married who you married. I'd never hid this part of me, baby doll.
No, but I do hate as well, and maybe it's the Pisces in us, I do hate someone who guesses twists, because then if the movie is well done to me and I wouldn't have guessed that, you just gave it away.
It didn't help. Like, I'm guessing twists regardless. I'm guessing twists if we're watching an episode of Sesame Street.
Of course.
But it didn't help that I knew already there was one twist that I've known for 4 years now.
Let's move on to taglines. The one I brought, maybe my best work.
You say that literally every week.
Well, this week I don't mean it, so I have to set it up. Caroline, right on time.
Mine is actually good this week.
Okay.
Sometimes I have fun with it, but this one I would feel confident walking into a boardroom in a blazer set and pitching. The skeleton key. Some doors should stay locked.
Oh, okay. I do like that. Also, we've never quoted reviews before. I think a good one would be The Skeleton Key. I think it's better if you don't. Roger Ebert. Okay. The real ones are, it can open any door. Literally just a dictionary definition.
The skeleton key. Stick it in a door and twist.
The second one is, you will believe. And the third one is, fearing is believing.
You know, those last two are kind of my taglines for the last couple months on this podcast since you found GOD again.
You will believe.
I am the cute one. You will believe.
It's better if you don't.
Like what you're hearing? Head to patreon.com/IamTheCuteOne for more.
There you can find uncut, unedited, and unhinged video and audio footage of current episodes.
That's patreon.com/IamTheCuteOne. See you there.
This movie was supposed to start filming in 2003, but Kate
Or
Hudson...
as Coco says about the early aughts, 2003. She'll say,
no.
Mommy, tell me about 2001. Tell me about 2003. I'm like, first of all, that's just not even true math. You're adding one too many zeros. Also, please don't speak about this time like we're backpacking the Oregon Trail.
Well, them calling it the 1900s is tough for me.
Tough, yeah.
This movie was supposed to start filming in 2003, but Kate Hudson got pregnant and they wanted her so badly in the film that they waited a year until she gave birth.
Wow.
I know. They said nobody else but her. What character, if any, do you identify as?
I am obviously Kate Hudson in this movie.
Mm.
That is just me with my little crystals, doing my little spells that I probably have no business doing.
Yeah, but she didn't want to believe at first. I think you're more Mama Cecile or whatever.
Maybe just snatching up the youth.
I am Jill, the black friend, because I would let my friend deal with whatever mess she's a part of on her own, because I am not going in a witch store.
That's fair. And I'm glad she stuck to her guns.
Yeah, I used to not go in Hot Topic. My friends would go in. I said, I'm not going in there.
God, you were such a narc.
No, not a narc. I was scared for my eternal life.
Yeah, that is true. I have heard that you don't get the keys to the kingdom of heaven if you walk in and buy a dildo and a funny bumper sticker from a girl with a septum ring.
No, they didn't have dildos at Hot Topic. It was all like music playing and like body piercings.
Oh, I think I conflate Spencer's and Hot Topic.
No, Spencer's I loved. Spencer's was like if I owned a store as a 13-year-old boy. It was like Austin Powers memorabilia in the front and then like dildos and nudity stuff in the back. Loved Spencer's. It was Hot Topic that was like, in hindsight, it's just like weirdo people stuff. Like they had like 9 Inch Nails t-shirts and like Hello Kitty book bags in the back. But to me, it looked like Satan's Gate was in the break room. I shopped at Spencer's often.
Okay.
I had my lava lamp there, my bead curtain there.
I want to bring back the lava lamps.
Your house would be a hotbed of
A
them.
lava lamp would thrive in my home.
Something that's crept its way into my algorithm is this dad. I think it's in Florida, but his whole house is just basically a fun house. I don't know where they actually live. You know him?
Yes, it's too much for me personally. I am somebody who, I'm not really worried about the resale value of my home. I'm going to die in this home, as I told my brother-in-law right after we bought it. But this is too much because he has like a rope swing that drops into a ball pit in the middle of his living room. It stresses me out.
It would be a perfect Airbnb house, but to
100%.
live there, number one, like anyone with kids knows, I was a kid once, like you get tired of what you have in your own home. So like, yes, for the first month or two, it would be cool to have a ball pit with a rope swing, but then at some point they won't even want it. Just turn the TV on.
That's like when Sapphire asked when we were decorating for Christmas. I had 95 chain links and 1,600 disco balls.
Yeah. Don't it always know? What? Oh, don't it always know? You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Don't it always seem to go?
Yeah, thank you. I knew it was some words I didn't say.
And the crazy thing is, I should have trusted my gut because as soon as you started saying that stream of words, I knew what you meant. But I was like, no, it couldn't be. I couldn't possibly have understood that stroke victim language.
But you did, Blanche. So let's put 1 minute on the clock, and you're going to give me a 1 minute recap.
Sure. This movie depicts the audacity of white women. It couldn't possibly happen to me.
Caroline Ellis is a hospice aide at a nursing home where they give their last shit as soon as the patient takes their last breath. And she wants to be in an environment where she can put the care in healthcare. After all, she let her dad die and won't let that happen again. So when she sees an ad seeking a live-in hospice caretaker in the newspaper, she applies immediately, even though it's in the swamps. At her interview, she meets Violet Devereaux, the old Southern bitch, looking to hire someone to take care of her paralyzed husband Benjamin, who has about a month to live after suffering a stroke in the attic, and the charming Luke Marshall, the estate lawyer. And although Violet has a problem that Caroline was raised in Jersey and won't understand the house because it's Southern, Caroline accepts the job under the persuasion of the lawyer.
So as soon as we met this man, I knew he was a bad guy. And that is because I have a bone to pick. What's his name? Peter Skarsgård?
Yeah.
He might be the worst actor I've ever seen.
What?
Mark this day on your calendar, cuties. Move over Emma Watson. We have a new king in town. A new supreme has risen for worst accent of all time. He was doing weird Kevin Spacey doing a transatlantic accent instead of a New Orleans drawl. I thought that there was going to be a twist around his accent because I was like, surely they wouldn't have hired this man for this prominent role if it wasn't going to be a twist that he's been faking this accent the whole time.
Okay.
Welcome to the South, baby girl.
No, that's just the vibe of the movie. Sometimes you don't understand the vibe. If you're playing a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, you can't talk like this. Hey, welcome.
But I would argue that New Orleans dialect is an actual dialect. I know at this point we all know how you feel about Southern people, that you would compare a Southern accent to a Munchkin land affectation. But
no, like
a New Orleans drawl is like a very specific dialect.
Yeah, but we couldn't have everyone walking around say Caroline. That's why they brought her in from Jersey, for God's sake. After stopping for gas at a station where the attendant also does part-time hoodoo and a blind woman carries a baby around, Caroline is ready to move into the Terrebonne Parish plantation house and take care of Ben. But during her first night with him, he grabs her by the wrist and won't let her go until his wife comes in, gives him his nightly medicine, and tells her the history of the house. She and Ben bought it in the 60s from an old brother and sister duo. An old brother and sister duo, Carolyn learns, that were raised in part by their servants, Mama Cecile and Papa Justify. Hashtag Team Justify. But before we get there, we know there's a reason there's a picture of Mama Cecile and Papa Justify. But whether those kids were my own relatives or people I bought the house from, I would not have that picture of those creepy ass children in my house.
No, I think it's going to be so funny when our generation becomes the next generation of ghosts because it just doesn't hit the same if the framed photo on the mantle of the person who's haunting the house is like a sexy selfie. Like a 2012 dog ears with the little tongue sticking out.
I think it makes it more insidious, but we're just so close to it that you can't see it. But like, imagine that was just two kids in like American Girl dresses. But now picture someone with a fake flower crown and a dog tongue. That's scary.
True. That's going to be a hard era to explain to the aliens when they come. Like, well, actually, this was a weird thirst trap that girls used to do back in the day. They would send a snap to their crush to indicate they were down to fuck by having a little dog nose and being like, woof, woof. But they never referenced the dog nose. The dog nose was just a part of it.
Pup play is very in and sometimes unspoken for. And that's why I feel so comfortable talking as openly as I do about wanting to fuck animated jungle felines. Because like everybody, think about Snapchat filters. Everybody has a little bit of cartoon bestiality.
That's true. Much like the skeleton key, if you believe in it, it's there waiting.
Violet gives her a skeleton key and tells her to stay out of the attic. They don't have mirrors because they don't like to see they're old, but she can have one in her room if she'd like, and to not get offended if she ignores her in the home. But Violet wastes no time in having her break those rules when the next day she doesn't ignore her and asks her to go to the attic to grab her a box of seeds so she can garden. And watching her flat out tell Kate Hudson, like, I'm just not going to talk to you. I've thought often when, not if, when I have hired help, what rules I'll set in motion. And I do like this one. Not necessarily I'm going to ignore you like I'm Ellen DeGeneres, but like, I think I'll say like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And you'll just happen to be here cleaning my house while it happens. And I don't mean like Harvey Weinstein way, but I mean like if I'm doing a wicked performance.
Thank you though for clarifying.
Yeah. But with that said, don't put the skeleton key in my door if it's locked. But but everything else, like a wicked performance, or I might go around quoting the best Big Brother fight of all time just randomly in my house. Ignore that.
I think that you say that, but I think you wouldn't want someone to ignore you. I think you would want a live-in audience. Because if you're giving your old razzle dazzle, if you're giving a wicked performance and Sue Ellen is just still there dusting Vanessa Hudgens' hair shrine in your office, you're going to be upset that Sue Ellen's not looking and clapping and giggling and cheering.
Well, no, if I need that, I'll put it in the contract. Like you get paid to clean, but you also get paid to clap.
You got time to lean, you got time to clap.
Caroline does as she's asked, but she's also from New Jersey, so she just does what she wants. And that includes trying to open a secret door she finds hidden behind a shelf. But shockingly, her skeleton key doesn't open that. So with the secret locked attic door and the fact that Ben was in the attic when he had a stroke, Caroline has questions. But she doesn't get to ask them when Ben tries to escape during a storm and falls off the roof, but not before writing a note for Caroline on one of his bed sheets, "Help me," which she hides in a cupboard.
I'm not proud of this, Donnie.
What?
But I laughed out loud when that man was out on that roof. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. It wasn't a slow motion crawl chase on the roof. I don't know why she even looked outside, honestly. But she had that spidey sense and she surely did open up and there he is, army crawling away.
Well, didn't she say the door was locked? That was the only way he could have went.
I guess.
I would have checked under the bed first.
This is a man who couldn't move and suddenly moving and grooving and crawling and falling.
Well, his arms work. He grabbed her wrist. He just doesn't have anything below the tits. You know? That kind of paralyzed. Below the tits.
When I've been editing, I've been leaving in when we just stare blankly. Like, because usually I edit us like Gilmore Girls, but every once in a while I do like to leave in when we just stare at each other blankly. It's like a game of chicken of like, who's going to try to move us along after whatever the fuck we just said. Below the tits, you know?
Well, If we're see, you shouldn't have brought it up because now I'm circling back. If I was gonna be paralyzed, I would want to be paralyzed below the tits so that if I work out, I can still make my pecs jump at least. Imagine not being able to do that.
Move my tits. It's really crazy when women bodybuilders develop such pecs that their boobs can dance.
You don't have to be a bodybuilder for that. You can just practice. I mean, it is muscle, but sometimes bodybuilders, their boobs shrink and it just looks like muscle. But there are women with big yams that are strippers and they can twirl their pasties opposite directions. I've watched it on YouTube.
But I think that's more of like a motion in the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
You're right. Okay.
But yeah, I just did some Kegels when I was trying to. There was a loss in translation in my brain because I was trying to move my boobs and suddenly I was just doing some Kegels. So,
did you take your medicine today?
Donnie, I was up all night last night.
You didn't answer my question.
I didn't.
The next day, Caroline goes to show Luke the
Saturday.
message on the sheet, but the message is gone, so she doesn't tell him. She still has questions, though, so she returns to the secret room and picks the lock, finding a room that would have the gas station attendant coming all over it. Monkey skull, monkey skulls, voodoo dolls, spell books, audio records of Papa Justify sacrifices, and photos of Papa Justify with his woman, Mama Cecile. I almost said Mama Solis.
Mama
by accident.
Solis. So close.
At what point would you move out? If I wasn't there, this would be when I said, all right, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I would have already moved out for sure. I don't know if I would have taken the job, to be honest.
Oh. So far, I think it was just like an old bitch and like a man who grabbed me a little too hard on the wrist. But now is when I would say, like, this is my hot topic moment. I'm not crossing that store. There's a padlock on the front door.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know when I would move out, but I did make a note because I didn't know if you were going to have a Kate Hudson blind spot. So I wanted to pick up the torch for you in terms of being the Monopoly man, overlooking the fact that I don't even want to be in my own attic alone.
Yeah.
There was no reason for her to be snooping, and especially no reason for her to be snooping on the clock like this. Like, this was in the middle of the day. You are clocked in. You're supposed to be caring for this elderly gentleman, and we'll get into what I would rate her on Indeed.com as a caretaker. But certainly, if you're curious, you live here. There could be other times, and sure, you don't want to go in the middle of the night. I get that. He doesn't probably wake up till 9 a.m. There's a woman planting her zinnias just right outside the window right now, and you're on the clock. She didn't even want to hire you. And I know because of the twist, it turns out that they're like leading her to this. But in her mind, she's having the autonomy to be sneaky and to be going in this room in broad daylight Tuesday lunch shift.
Well, with the twist thought of, one would say she'd be better off if she just did her job. The twist would not have happened to me. After 2 months, they would have said, all right, you're fired. You got to leave.
And you would have said, why? I've done everything you've asked.
I will say it wasn't a Kate Hudson blind spot, but it is airplane rules. You have to worry about yourself first. And like, yes, we know this man can army crawl on the roof, but besides that, what can he do? Not much. It's like when a baby's in the playpen, chances are you will be fine. Yes, one day the baby will be able to crawl out by himself, but he's not going to do that every day. He did it last night.
Now, I would just poke a quick hole in that logic where when you're on an airplane, you're in the sky, you can't just walk out into the world again, quit the job and move on. She is just in a house. So she could do airplane rules by saying, you know what? I'm out of here.
And also, I don't think if this was a little bit later in the movie and she didn't trust Violet, then I would say, sure, do it now. Because then she reports back and tells her what she finds. Right now, she's truly just snooping. I am on your side again.
Yeah, this would be like you hire somebody to clean your house and you're like, don't worry about the bedroom. And then they go into your bedroom and they're like, I found your dirty underwear. Like, well, I told you not to go in there, please. Now, you can tell I've never had somebody ever in my life come and clean my house because I don't know if they even look in underwear drawers.
I don't either, actually. I don't know what they do. The only time I've had someone clean my house was when the apartment was fully empty. And she thought I was going to Caroline her because she came in and she said, no furniture? I said, no, none.
Let me get out this big plastic tarp. Make yourself comfortable.
But instead of moving out, Caroline follows the words of one Miss Corinne Bailey Ray, and girl, she puts her records on. Listening to Papa Justify's sacrifice, and luckily she has a black friend who can educate her on hoodoo, a magic religion that slaves brought to America from Haiti, and Caroline doesn't believe, but she wants answers. So Violet finally tells her more about the house. Mama Cecile and Papa Justify healed the sick and hurt the mean, and were worked to the bone by the man who owned the house, until a party was held and the servants took the children, the very children who sold Violet and Ben the house, upstairs to teach them how to conjure spirits, and for it they were hung. And that's why there's no mirrors in the house, because sometimes you can see the spirits in the reflection.
I would be moving out.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up learning about a certain Bloody Mary to take ghost stories involving mirrors all willy-nilly. No, thank you.
Yeah, but if there are no mirrors, then you won't have that woman. I'm not about to say it twice. Caroline doesn't believe in ghosts and mirrors, but she wants to see if Ben does. So while he's naked in the bathtub, she holds a compact to his face and he freaks the fuck out. While she still doesn't believe in spirits and hoodoo, she does believe that it is Ben under the impression that this wasn't a stroke and was hoodoo working against him. And so he'd probably believe that he can be cured of it. So she still doesn't move out, but she decides she needs to call in the big guns, going to a local hoodoo store hidden behind a laundromat, where she learns to lay a line of brick dust at the door if she wants to make sure those that mean her harm can't cross it, and also a spell that can cure Ben.
This is when I texted you and I said, Donnie, this movie is pretty racist. This is a very 2005 lens of what's going on here.
I think when you get to the end, it's not racist, number one.
Well, we can have a message while still maybe the execution is still a little...
Well, that is, and I put this in my what age, like Blockbuster, even one person, even costumer, Suzanne Jenkins, one black person on the production team would have made me feel better about this. But the black friend and the people that don't have any lines, as Mama Cecile and Papa Justify, being the only black people that have anything to do with the movie, does make me a little uncomfortable.
And the hoodoo queen that she goes and visits in the scene, and the dialogue of what's happening as she walks in. I would encourage just go back and listen to this back and forth. This is perhaps the only conversation we hear between two black people in this film. Just pointing that out there. But I want to move back to the white woman. Let's center the white woman like this movie does. I just don't think I understand her and like her motivation, because like she took this job because she wants to be a good caretaker. She wants to treat her patients like people. She's torturing this man. When she waits until he is vulnerable, naked, and in the bathtub, she might not believe in the mirror, but like he clearly does. And she just slow motion like drags the mirror towards him to like hold it up, and he's like freaking out. That's like having like a dementia patient who believes something and then just like terrorizing them with whatever that delusion or whatever like memory they're stuck in over and over. Like that's crazy. That's elder abuse. She should have her license revoked for this. And why did she wait until bath time?
I see your point. However, she never said that she wants to care for them. She just said she doesn't want them to be forgotten about when they die. And maybe that's because she's a nurse that would take selfies with people when they piss. And after they die, there's your selfie, no more. You know, she needs her victims. So that night, she does the spell for him. And maybe it's magic, maybe it's science. Maybe it's Maybelline, but Ben starts speaking and asks Caroline for help and begs her to get him out because he's afraid of his wife, Violet. Not knowing what's going on, but knowing that something in the buttermilk ain't clean, Caroline tells Luke what's been going on. And while he isn't buying it, he joins her to visit the former home nurse who quit, she was black too, who tells them the brother and sister who owned the house previously died of strokes after selling the place to Ben and Violet, possibly from finding something they shouldn't. But she doesn't want Caroline to get it twisted. Ghost didn't put a spell on Ben, Violet did. And so it's back to another hoodoo shop, this time the one at the gas station, where the blind woman freaks out when Caroline asks her about the conjure of sacrifice. And she freaks out for good reason, because the conjure of sacrifice allows the spellcaster to sacrifice someone and take the years they have left, so the spellcaster, in theory, can live forever. Wow, what a spell.
What a spell.
I would do it. Luke tells her to get proof that Violet is trying to hurt Ben, and he'll do his best to help her. So Caroline returns to the house where Violet is in the thick of spellcasting. and theft because the record Caroline had with her things is missing. But there's other proof Caroline can get. She puts brick dust in front of her bedroom door and Violet doesn't step in. Evil bitch alert. And guess what? My grandma and your grandma sitting by the fire. Caroline decides it's time to leave. So she conjures up a little spell of her own, or at least good old-fashioned science, by chloroforming Violet's sweet tea. Caroline grabs the page from the spell book and checks Violet's room, where she finds the record, the sheet with the message, and a chunk of her hair. So she hides Ben in the garage and leaves.
Par for the course of how we usually cover movies, where we just like zoom through the back half of it. But this really is the pacing of the movie. Like there was so much like creeping around, scuttling around, peering into doors, looking outside, man on the roof, just so much slow motion, literally man on the roof, slow motion, but like so much slow motion plot. And then truly we get to the last like 20 minutes and I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
Well, I mean, a slow burn is always a good way to cook a turkey, number one.
Gobble, gobble.
But number two, much like Pretty Little Liars, like once we're rolling, there's no time for pacing, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And that's the problem with Pretty Little Liars, is they were being chased by killers and hiding in offices after they were caught snooping, and they still decided to say, like, you're really bringing him to prom? Like, we don't have, maybe later. If we're still alive tomorrow, we can talk about it.
I think that's one of many things that ended up being wrong with Pretty Little Liars.
But Caroline moves quick and makes it to Luke's office around the swamp. But another problem for Caroline, Luke has been helping Violet the whole time because he's Papa Justify and Violet is Mama Cecile, having switched bodies with the children before their lynching and then again to the old couple who bought their home. And so he strangles her and brings her to the house where they can perform the conjure of sacrifice on her.
That's crazy. This is when I texted you and I said, wow, they lynched their children.
And I said, white ass Wally's had it coming.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's incredible.
Just wish they were still alive for Kate Hudson to go tell them that. Just a phone call. You lynched your own kids. And then she gets kidnapped or whatever. Just so they know what they did.
Well,
you know?
I think they did know because they talk about how the husband ended up shooting his wife and shooting himself.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure that they discovered what they did.
Amazing. Good.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
I thought the mom and dad didn't really do it. I thought the kids did it, but then said like, oh my God, our parents did this. They never explained it, but that's how I read into it. Like if someone tried to kill us, but our bodies were in their children, if we were home with them, then I would kill them and say like, oh my God, our parents killed ourselves. But really it's because you tried to kill us. We're here, honey. Like that.
I took it as because whenever they're doing things to people, they end up in a stroke, not speaking. I took this to mean the kids were terrorizing them. They started to figure out what was going on and they took matters into their own hands and they realized that they had lynched their own kids. But I guess they left it up to interpretation. Either way, a terrible fitting end for terrible people.
Yeah.
The lawyer reveal, not for 1 second did I think that this man was a good person because again, a terrible actor. But this is when I was praying, like when we had just perfectly placed on his desk the lawyers for dummies next to all the photos of her, just like neatly all the evidence there for her to discover. And then he chokes her from behind. When he speaks, I was praying like, please New Jersey accent, please Brooklyn accent, please anything accent. But then he goes, good night, child. And I was like, oh, Jesus. So like the reveal isn't that he's been like undercover. The reveal is that this accent is supposed to be real.
There's nothing wrong with that accent. Sometimes people just do bad accent work. Back to Pretty Little Liars for a second. I did love the British twin. I know a lot of people don't, but when it works, it works. And it didn't then, but that makes it iconic. And with bonkers reveals, I want Scream 8 so badly to be not even a character throughout. I just want Ghostface with the voice changer up to their mask, say, surprise, Sydney, and then take the mask off. And it's Drew Barrymore's twin sister who has a lisp.
Come sit with me on the couch too close.
What?
Like the Drew Barrymore show. Come sit with me on a couch too close. Let's not have personal boundaries.
And now that she believes it works, and Mama Cecile and Violet's body swaps bodies with Caroline, putting her soul into Violet.
I would be fucked, Donnie, If
I
there was
know.
magic that if you believe it's going to happen to you, I talked about that weasel. It just takes a couple videos and I'm going to believe. There's a
I
reason I
know.
don't let myself go down certain rabbit holes because I would be wearing a QAnon tinfoil hat in no time. If I were Caroline, all it would take was that first creepy room and all the bad shit would happen right away to me because I'd say,
Yeah.
oh, something's happening here and I believe it all.
And that's why I know I used this movie as my North Star, but I really do feel like Mercury in retrograde didn't affect me until I started believing in it. You got to hand it to the old bitch, though, because this was a very well thought out plan. And like, yes, they did it 3 times or however many times before, but first they went out of their way to make sure she believed. And then the fake protection spell when she was passing out to like make Kate Hudson think it was a protection spell, but really it was trapping her in as the victim. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Also, for those of you who weren't following along as you watched the movie, I do want to point out little Easter eggs we had along the way. Number 1, Violet has an issue from Caroline not being from New Orleans at the beginning, and that's because if she suddenly starts talking with an accent, like her friends will be like, wait, what's going on?
And because she would be less likely to believe, probably.
Yes, that too. Well, that's why she kept saying, like, she doesn't understand the house. She doesn't understand the house. That's why that was her problem there. And then Violet, when she walks in on Carolyn talking to Luke, she got jealous that they were like flirting.
The children
energy.
are talking.
Yeah, she was jealous because that's her husband talking to a young white woman. And then Violet, when she asked for the seeds in the attic, she calls them Dixie Johns. And that's what they were called in Hoodoo.
Oh,
Yeah.
Love that.
I know. The next morning, Caroline's black friend and the police show up, with Violet having suffered from a stroke the night before. Luke tells Caroline's friend that Violet left the house to Caroline and she'll be staying, and Papa Justify and Mama Cecile live happily ever after until they have to steal someone else's body. Question really quick. Do you think that the black friend is safe, or do you think they'll do it to her just for Kate? Like, yes, they have the rest of Kate Hudson's life. They don't need to switch bodies for a long time, but Mama Cecile as Caroline at the very end says, like, I really wish we had a black body this time.
Mm-hmm.
So now with such close proximity, maybe they will.
Yeah, and the fact that they had her go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I think that they have identified, like, ooh.
Well, there's my
this
sequel,
is our
I
next
guess.
one.
Also, and this is the problem with centering a white woman in this black story, is I was rooting for Caroline. I don't like that this happened at the end, but at the same time, I am hashtag Team Justify.
They were the ones that deserved to get the eternal
Of
life
course.
or whatever. I do wish, because they talked about in Hoodoo, it's about punishing the bad and doing well for the good. And even, again, go back to that perhaps racist conversation between the Hoodoo witch and her client. That client is getting beat up by her boyfriend. And so the witch is giving her a potion and is like, this isn't going to happen again. So I do wish we had discovered a backstory for Kate Hudson that she has done something bad. Like, even if it was like she wanted to put her dad out of his suffering and suffocated him with a pillow, like something. But I think that the point is, I think that all white people are inherently a little bit evil. So it's reparations, just giving our bodies for them because we've done some pretty fucked up shit, you know?
No, that's very true. And that is my takeaway as well. However, as a white person, I do need to force my, like, it's when you're a little drunk and driving at the same time. I can do it, but I have to focus, you know? I can root for them to get there, but I have to say, like, no, let's focus, you know?
Yeah. Squint one eye and just try to drive right down the middle. Okay.
And famously, I've never driven a car. So I certainly haven't drunk drove. That was fully just a made up example.
And another great example of white people just being a little bit evil. Final thoughts. If we were to bring this movie to present day, what would the plot of a sequel be, or who would you cast in the reboot?
Okay. I only cast 2 people in the reboot. Number 1, Olivia Holt from Heart Eyes as the Kate Hudson character, and Judith Light as Violet.
I said a sequel and bring back Kate Hudson, bring back her friend. They have had like a falling out, but something happens where the friend is now brought back to the house and Kate Hudson has fully settled into, she's got a full accent. She's chain smoking those long cigarettes. The friend then brings in her aunt who practices hoodoo, Viola Davis, and we go from there. We see what happens.
I love that.
So final thoughts. What about this movie aged well and what aged like Blockbuster?
So unfortunately, it's not a good thing that aged well, but the house owner getting away with killing his servants, like doing that and moving on, is scary to how well that ages. Also, what aged like Blockbuster is the lynching was done in great detail. And I don't know that we needed to see, like, there is a time and a place where that's appropriate in a movie. Like, educate us, sure. And if it's a historical drama, sure. But in a thriller, I think it was just there to, like, scared ya. And that I didn't love.
It was treated the same way as any other jump scare, but I would argue with more graphic detail. Like even me with my broken TV, I surely did turn to Dr. Ball and I said, oh, they're like showing this. And I do think there is a difference, like you said, in certain types of movies, but also when people of color are responsible for the creation of the movie. Like if this was a Jordan Peele movie and he felt like that was important to show, I would trust that. But again, looking at the lineup of who created this movie and then how that was depicted, certainly we could have alluded to it. We could have shown glimpses, but we like saw the whole thing.
Yes, I agree. And that's something else I said. No Black people on the production staff makes this whole experience feel off. But when you did text me and say this movie's racist, I did Google it immediately to prove. I just needed one other person to say, no, it's not, so that I could bring it and say, like, no, it's not, Chelsea. But I did find a Reddit thread and people were like, what's the difference between this and Get Out? Like, Get Out really took off and this kind of just fell flat. And I think the difference is like a Black person had a story to tell with Get Out.
It's a difference between a Black person having commentary on lived experience and years and years and years and years of systemic racism and abuse versus a white person being like, you know what would really add to the tension? Let's show the lynching in full. Now, that being said, one thing that ages well about this movie, again, Kate Hudson, great acting in this movie.
Are you going to see Sing Song Blue? I hear mixed things. It's about a Neil Diamond cover band, a husband and wife. And like when I saw that, I was like, no, absolutely not. This looks ridiculous. Her and Hugh Jackman. But then I hear it's one of the most gutting films of the year. I'm sure she gets sick and dies or whatever. I would love to see that. I just might fast forward through the music.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman's a tough sell for me, if I'm being honest. If he's not Wolverine, I don't want it.
Okay. Can't wait till we cover Les Mis one day.
I would rather die, but okay. You know, I've seen half of it, and then I promptly walked out. Not of the theater, but of my living room.
Oh, okay. Fair. Next week, cuties, if you want to talk about more racist movies, we're covering Ben and Me. And as I was making the outline, I had to backtrack on my Ben Franklin love because I did have to stop and Google, did Ben Franklin own slaves? And you can Google that yourself, but we're talking about the mouse next week, okay? Less of the man, more of the mouse.
Great. So to summarize for cuties that maybe their brains are hurting from all the twists and turns of Skeleton Key, this Donnie Appreciation Month, we are taking a swift left turn from a Kate Hudson psychological thriller to the 23-minute animated short Ben and Me featuring Ben Franklin and his best pal, a mouse.
And you've never seen it, right?
When would I have seen it?
Elementary school.
I don't believe I've seen it up until this point.
You are in for a treat.
Mice really had a moment in the 90s in animated
Well, this is
films.
from the 50s, so.
Oh. Then, yeah, why the fuck would I have seen this, Donnie?
Elementary school. You didn't have a Ben Franklin unit? Don't tell me. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we're covering a 23-minute movie, so it's going to be a 2-hour episode.
I know. I know. We'll talk to you later. Love you like a sister. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to I Am the Cute One. If you want more, head to patreon.com/IamTheCuteOne for uncut, unedited, and unhinged video and audio footage of current episodes, as well as even more bonus content.
And if you like what you heard, please be sure to leave a 5-star rating and subscribe to our show. And to help us grow this community of chaotic cuties, share an episode with a friend you think would pass the vibe check.
And to see the madness, check out our YouTube channel, where video footage from all current episodes are posted weekly.
You can follow me at Real Donnywood on Instagram and all other social media platforms.
And if you want more of my personal brand of chaos, check me out at Oh No Chels.
Talk to you later. Love you like a sister.